The big surprise of the 1988 presidential race was the phenomenal campaign of Jesse Jackson.
We the people can win!
Inside the campaign, it was hope and hype driving the Jackson caravan. But in the end, Jesse lost. Or did he?
I was amazed that America did as well to understand Jesse as they did. But it never approached electability.
Somebody has to start it. I don't think things this big and this important get lost.
Tonight on Frontline, Running with Jesse.
My name. Not one born with a silver spoon in his mouth, who has had shovels in his hands. My name. Born of a teenage mother, fatherless child. My name. One of the forgotten children, not one of the begotten ones. My name. Yard without grass, house without indoor bathroom. My name. Tin-top roof. My name. My name goes in the nomination every fatherless child. Every poor person. Hold their heads high. So my name is his name.
The morning after that speech, our team from Frontline was in the crowd waiting for Jesse Jackson to begin the final trip of his 1988 campaign. There was an air of expectation, even though technically it was too late for surprises. It was now the week before the Democratic Convention. Jackson did not have enough delegates to become the Democratic candidate for president, and he had pointedly not been chosen by Michael Dukakis as his running mate. Yet he was still on center stage. And he was doing nothing to discourage rumors that something dramatic would happen on this bus trip. Others were taking a plane to the convention in Atlanta. But in a conscious echo of the civil rights days, Jackson was taking a bus all the way from Chicago.
All I know is Mills handed off the tape to a man who said
Our team was in the caravan, watching both the candidate and the people who covered him.
as long as you get in touch with NBC and figure out if it's
It was old-fashioned travel with newfangled technology. We had now been covering Jackson's run for the Democratic nomination for 6 months. This last campaign trip became for us an emblem of the whole Jackson campaign, a combination of hype and hope.
I think, quite frankly, it was a media coup for Reverend Jackson. As far as I'm concerned, it was Reverend Jackson at his best in terms of manipulating the media. Here were most of us thinking that this was going to be a caravan of supporters, that they were going to pick up buses along the way, and there would be thousands and thousands and thousands of Jackson people marching into Atlanta. Well, it turned out it was Reverend Jackson and 4 busloads of the national press.
By now, reporters Mike Frisbee and Doreen Carvajal were well aware of Jackson's media savvy.
It was all prop, it was all staging, and it was very, very shrewd. It helped him steal the thunder going into the convention. The focus was on him, not on the top candidate. He had all these reporters with nothing else to write about except him. I mean, it was like being a hostage on the bus.
Only a few members of the press could fit on Jackson's bus at a time. The caravan stopped by the side of the interstate to let reporters on and off the front bus. Jackson's press secretary, Delmarie Cobb, tried to keep order.
I was told it was a bigger bus than it is, and that we were going to have at least 10 people on it. There's no room to even turn on the bus. Is there room while we're sitting here now to let 8 still have a thought at least? We're not even supposed to be stopping here, except that you all got off the buses.
This was vintage Jackson campaigning, a kind of structured free form. There was a schedule, a map, and a plan, but getting the schedule, seeing the map, or learning the plan was the challenge. Our turn on the front bus came when we stopped 20 miles outside Atlanta to pick up extra passengers. Waiting by the side of the road was CBS News anchor Dan Rather, escorted by Jackson's political advisor, Burt Lance.
Blue Caucus came with an immigrant ship, my folks came with a slave ship, but same boat now, and our destinies are bound. If we were living in a royal blood arrangement, maybe our ships would never meet. We're in democracy. Our ships are not passing in the night. Our ships are the same dock. That's the genius of our system. This is democracy at its best. Aren't you excited? Man, what's happening?
At the beginning of this campaign, political analysts often dismissed Jackson as a protest candidate who would appeal only to blacks. But 7 million people, not just blacks, voted for him. Jackson had never once been elected to political office. Yet here he was entering Atlanta, the runner-up for the Democratic nomination. The official nominating process had begun here in February at the Iowa caucuses. In Iowa, politics is personal. They say if a candidate doesn't come shake your hand, then you don't vote for him. Jesse Jackson, determined to run in all 50 states, brought his small campaign to Iowa early. He was not expected to do well. He did not attract much national press.
We were just traveling around in a couple of vans. One van was for the reporters. We were just this little band of survivors. There were maybe 4 or 5 of us. And it was extremely cold then. We were all bundled up in our, thermals and things like that. And we would chase him through the snow.
The population of Iowa is mostly rural, 97% white. So the black preacher from Chicago was an event.
Some of them were there out of curiosity and just sort of dazzled by him, and would go up to him and ask for autographs, and would try to hug him or hold him or touch him. And it was just a very innocent time. People weren't paying as much attention to him. The focus was on most of the other candidates.
I was facing foreclosure, had gotten the foreclosure notice, and in the spring of '85, and got a hold of Jesse, and we got a telegram to our local banker. He offered to come sit down at a mediation table and try to work this thing out between myself and my bankers. And we wound up going through some reorganization, giving some things back, but we still got every acre, and we're going to farm, and we're going to continue to farm. But we couldn't have done it without Jesse, and we need him.
Jackson brought that farmer from nearby Missouri to speak at a rally in the tiny town of Greenfield.
Love you, Greenfield.
Most of the candidates had their Iowa headquarters in Des Moines, the state capital. Jackson put his in Greenfield to make the point that this was a populist campaign, a campaign for ordinary people.
Jesse Jackson came to the church I attend in Greenfield, and we thought maybe we'd have 50 people there. So we had a potluck and lemonade. We got lemonade for 50 people and hoped we wouldn't be embarrassed. And the church was filled to overflowing. There were almost 1,000 people there. And he spoke to us that night and talked about rural people joining forces with urban people. And he said, rural feeders and urban eaters. And that sort of caught everyone's attention.
Some presidents hang pictures on the wall of the White House. I'm going to hang a map of Greenfield on the wall of the White House.
Months later, after the convention, Jackson still spoke fondly of Greenfield.
How can I ever forget the love in Greenfield, Iowa, as people reached out and grew and got bigger than themselves. It was this whole trauma where people wrestled with race earnestly, but in a rather non-threatening, non-confrontational way, where people would say, well, we like the Jesse Jackson message, we like his courage, we like the way he presents his argument, we like his positions, we like his standing with us at the plant gate, the farm gate, but they could not get across the but to the therefore we will support him.
Jesse Jackson is our man. He'll take us through the land. He's going to be our next president.
In Iowa, Jackson won 10% of the delegates, finishing fourth in a field of 8.
And I remember distinctly coming out of Iowa, moving toward New Hampshire, although we had gone into double digits, which was beyond what the projected expectation was. We were on network TV that week for 15 seconds. Dukakis, Simon Gephardt, between 22 and 24 minutes of network time. So we were dismissed.
A week later, in the New Hampshire primary, Jackson did no better than he did in Iowa. A distant fourth.
Once the campaign began, I was determined to see it to the end. And I knew if we survived Iowa and survived New Hampshire and got south, we were going to change the equation, because we would have a running chance of people who would put their hopes and their beliefs and their votes in the same direction.
Jackson was counting on the South. For the first time, almost all the southern states were holding primaries on the same day. Super Tuesday was devised by Southern Democrats to give the South more clout in nominating a conservative Democrat for president. Yet Jackson's strategists saw Super Tuesday as a golden opportunity for their candidate.
Our joke was, let's not tell them what that really means. For us, we like the idea that they are organizing a Super Tuesday, and, you know, to the degree that they think that it will make them more powerful, it's all right, because we really know what that means.
In the South, almost 20% of eligible voters are black. Jackson's strategy depended on a large black voter turnout. In March of 1988, at the United House of Prayer in Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw something we had not seen a month before in the chilly towns of Iowa. Instead of polite interest in the Jackson campaign, we saw enthusiasm. Here, there was a feeling of homecoming and a belief that this campaign could succeed. The challenge for Jackson was to find a way to compete in 20 states at once with no money. By March, the campaign was already hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. For a strategy, Jackson turned to his campaign manager, Gerald Austin.
We decided that the best way to deal with Super Tuesday is we never would have $1 million for media, but if we were able to get a large enough plane to take the media with us and go to 4 or 5 or sometimes even 6 different media markets in a day, that was our media.
The campaign picked 82 congressional districts where they thought Jackson could win delegates, and the candidates started running, with the press chasing behind to the beat of a campaign song.
Ready for another one? I'm ready. Let's go.
Nothing's gonna stop you, Jesse. Don't let nothing turn you around. Run, Jesse, run. Run on, Jesse, run.
We would start in Georgia, fly to Texas, fly to Maryland, back to North Carolina, overnight in Alabama.
People would say, oh, where'd you just come from? And I would feel like an idiot because I'd have to pause and think, I can't remember.
So you better run, Jesse, run. Because the people, they need you. Nothing's gonna stop you, Jesse.
He'd get out there and he'd give that speech, he'd see the crowd, that was the elixir, boom. You know, all of a sudden he turned on, he was magic. naked back on the bus, and he'd look like the rest of us.
Look at this, they got a Mexican string band. Let's go. We're looking good. We're looking good.
Look at those.
Brownsville, Texas. One of many stops on the day before Super Tuesday. The crowds were large and enthusiastic. When Jackson ran for president in 1984, he talked about a rainbow coalition, but most of his support came from blacks. In this election, he was still getting little help from the white Democratic establishment. One of the few nationally known Democrats to endorse him was Texas Commissioner of Agriculture Jim Hightower.
He had learned from '84, and I'm not trying to say here he was more strident in '84 or more black-oriented in '84, though I think he was. But I think more significant is that his message was clearly one of populism, and he wouldn't talk to any audience without talking about the inclusiveness that is needed within the Democratic Party and for the country.
A new Texas. I want for women prenatal care, and then Head Start and daycare on the front side of life rather than jail care and welfare on the back side. Let's educate our children and give our children faith.
Jackson! We love Jackson!
Que viva Jesse! Que viva Jesse! Que viva Jesse!
The endless rallies and plane rides and practically no sleep seemed to be paying off. Polls were showing a burst of support for Jackson. But in this campaign, Jackson had not received something he wanted very badly. Martin Luther King Jr. had been his mentor, but when Jackson ran for president in 1984, he did not receive the endorsement of Coretta Scott King or Andrew Young or other veteran leaders of the civil rights movement.
Keep the dream alive. Let the quest.
This time, most black elected officials did endorse Jackson. But once again, his movement colleagues kept their distance.
Georgia and Mississippi, we the people can win.
I didn't endorse anybody, but I tried to work with everybody. I even tried to work with some Republicans behind the scenes, because I think it's important that the issues affecting this country are not just partisan issues. Issue like South Africa, issue like drugs, issue like child care, those are not partisan issues.
I never harbored any bitterness or hostility, even toward those who did not support, because I knew it would just be a matter of time.
You weren't hurt?
Not really. I was prepared. It's like if you were running a football through the line of scrimmage. You may get hit real hard, but you're so focused on the goal line, and you are so conditioned to expect to be hit. You're hit, but you're not hurt.
Even without that support, Jackson got 91% of the record black vote on Super Tuesday. Although he received only 7% of the white vote, he won the overall popular vote.
If we can run in 20 states in one day with a $100,000 budget, oh, when we catch them state by state and day by day, they got high tech, we got grassroots. They got commercials, we got a message. They got a rich campaign and looking for a leader. We got a leader. We can make it. We got leadership. We got courage. We got direction. We have stood there at the plant gate. We the people can win. We the people can win. We the people people can win. We the 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 people can win.
The day after Super Tuesday, we followed Jackson home to Chicago.
Lord, for his sake, teach Jesse to take one day at a time. You remember when you walked among men.
It was in Chicago in the 1960s that Jackson first made his mark as a civil rights activist.
Looking below is worse now than then. They're pushing and shoving. Yeah, they even crowding my mind. But for our sake, teach us to take one day at a time.
People in Chicago know Jesse Jackson well. He is not universally admired, but on that day, at Operation Push headquarters, he was among friends.
I want to write a headline. Jackson feeds hungry. Jackson sets the captive free. Jackson inspires children. Jackson brings people together. Jackson builds. Jackson brings peace. I want to make a headline. I want to make a headline.
The one reason why Jesse is not as popular in Chicago as he is in the rest of the country is that people here have known him too well for too long. They remember the early, more brash, more arrogant Jesse Jackson, and they look with a much more jaundiced eye when you start saying, well, Jesse has changed. He's more humble now. Chicagoans just have a hard time believing that.
Even though Jackson won the Super Tuesday popular vote, Michael Dukakis was still ahead in the race for delegates. Both Dukakis and Jackson saw the coming Illinois primary as crucial. Complicating the situation was the United States Senator from Illinois, Paul Simon.
Tell Father Cornell hello from me, will you?
Simon did poorly in the early primaries. He did not run on Super Tuesday, but resurrected his campaign in Illinois. Jackson saw Simon as a spoiler.
Thank you.
He held on to run a one-state campaign propped up by the Democratic State Party machinery as, in fact, favorite son for the state. And then he left Illinois and, with a faint effort, lost again. And rather than withdraw in an honorable way from the campaign process, at which time, since I came in number 2, I would have gotten 47 delegates, he did not quit the campaign. He suspended the campaign. I thought that maneuvering was beneath the dignity that Senator Simon and the fairness that he'd always projected.
I'm sure he feels that way, but Simon was playing practical politics, and Jackson is also now a very practical politician. And the fact of the matter is that the entrenched political structure here is still mainly a white-dominated structure. Those people on the Democratic Central Committee did not want Jesse Jackson. They wanted to go as Paul Simon delegates to the National Convention, and they weren't going to switch.
Five days before the primary, Simon and Jackson appeared together at a Democratic unity dinner.
There simply is no better and more aggressive and more sensitive senator in Washington today than Paul Simon. And I intend to keep him there. That's my real point. That's my real point. He's so great, we need to keep him right there in that Senate.
When Jackson was not playing hardball politics, he was often in a high school gym. He made a point of going to 2 or 3 high schools a week, even though the students could not vote. At Naperville North High School near Chicago, Jackson's presence electrified the students. These events seemed to rejuvenate Jackson as well. On the day of the Illinois primary, though, future voters were of no use to Jackson. He needed people who could vote for him now. He went to the Robert Taylor Homes, a high-rise housing project, to get out the vote. These were people he knew. He hoped he could count on them.
I'd walked through that area many times before. That was Harold Washington's ward, and he was an alderman, for example. And when he ran for mayor, we campaigned together in that same area.
Just as on Super Tuesday, Jackson needed a record black turnout to put him over the top. But the Jackson campaign worried that blacks here were not well organized and that voter registration rules might keep many away from the polls.
Everybody get those nightgowns! Come on, boy, those blue jeans and t-shirt and vote for Jesse Jackson!
Gallup poll shows that if the election were held today, not one of the Democratic candidates could beat George Bush or Bob Dole. Cap Island, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Chicago.
Our campaign of hope is winning. I feel very good about it.
Senator Simon won the Democratic primary in Illinois. Jesse Jackson was a distant second. Blacks did not vote in record numbers, and once again, Jackson received just 7% of the white vote.
There is much to celebrate. It seems that the people of this great state has done well by its 2 favorite sons. Tonight, they paid their respects to a sitting senator who focused on one state. And they've done well by our campaign as we focused in every state, every race, against all odds across this country.
The next big hurdle was Michigan, another large industrial state. Despite the Illinois loss, Jackson still led the Democrats in popular votes. But many analysts felt he had reached his peak. Key local and national Democrats began to endorse Dukakis. Early statewide polls in Michigan predicted a sure Jackson defeat. No one was caught more off guard by what happened next than those of us who were covering Jackson.
Good evening. Jesse Jackson's shocker landslide in yesterday's Michigan caucuses has put the Democratic presidential fight in chaos again tonight. The numbers tell the story, with Jackson beating Governor Michael Dukakis by roughly a 2-to-1 margin.
Jesse Jackson, the Democratic frontrunner. Today, that's the way it looks. NBC Nightly News.
The same media that said he shouldn't run, he never should have run. He can't do as well in '88 as he did in '84. Can a black run? Can a black win? Is he electable? That same media came out of Michigan in trauma.
For many in the party hierarchy, Jackson's surge is a mind blower. They dreaded that it would happen in Michigan, but it did happen.
I cannot wait to defeat George Bush in November.
Jesse Jackson's victory in Michigan last weekend has drastically changed the shape of the 1988 campaign. Stunned party professionals are saying, sometimes unhappily, he really might be the nominee.
Somebody's either got to beat Jesse Jackson at these rules, or they've got to change the rules and say it's the first white guy across the line who wins, not just the first guy across the line.
I think that everybody was shocked. People in Washington were apoplectic. The mood in this town was, oh my God, this guy could win the nomination. And it wasn't only in this town, it was all over the country. All of a sudden, Jesse Jackson won a significant state, one he was not expected to win, and now he's a serious candidate.
Jesse! Y'all reporters, do the don't push.
In 1 week, headlines changed from what does Jesse want to can he win? After Michigan, Jesse Jackson was ahead of all the other Democrats in both the popular vote and in convention delegates. He arrived in Wisconsin with polls predicting he might win again.
Those are really magical times for that campaign.
Some office holders are not leaders, and some leaders are not office holders. I'm a leader. My experience has brought it.
We went to Wisconsin to this dairy farm. It was a bigger population that he got in Watts in LA when he, in the middle of the day. And there was just this tension in the air of what's happening? Can he do it?
I think you saw Reverend Jackson a little bolder. I think you saw his supporters a little more spirited. On the downside, though, when Reverend Jackson gets bold, sometimes it's not the best political thing to do.
Jackson was now under intense media scrutiny, and suddenly one of his bold moves backfired.
As long as he kept moving, he was fine. But when he paused after a rally in front of a union hall to take questions, they were nearly all about this: Panamanian General Noriega's letter in response to Jackson's offer of help in arranging Noriega's exit. The general offered to meet with Jackson, but Jackson today seemed to be backing out of the Noriega issue in all directions, as if he decided it wasn't a good political opportunity after all. Would he meet with Noriega?
I would not do that now. I simply will appeal to members of the Congress to get more information.
I didn't know about it until after it was done. I think it was a mistake, but I don't think it was the mistake. I think that it wasn't helpful. People, especially reporters, were out there waiting for Jesse Jackson to make a mistake. He did. That was a mistake. But I think that the reason we didn't do well in Wisconsin was a combination of things.
Better America, and that's our challenge.
Number one, because we won in Michigan, people were saying, this guy could be president. This guy could win this nomination. I don't know that I want to vote for him. When I was voting for him as sort of a protest, because I liked what he had to say, that was one thing. But now I got to look at it a different way. It's a different kind of vote.
Jackson lost in Wisconsin almost 2-1. For a brief week, he had momentum.
Win, Jesse, win! Win, Jesse, win!
Now, the analysts were saying, to keep going, he must win the next primary. And the next primary was in New York.
He believed, and I believe, that he could win in the state of New York and then use that to go on and maybe win at the convention as well, because he did win in a number of states, took a lot of southern states and some northern states and came in second. So in a large number. So I perceived him as a very important candidate who had to be carefully scrutinized like you would any first-rate candidate running for the Democratic Party's highest nomination.
New York City Mayor Ed Koch is seldom hesitant about expressing his opinions. He soon let the media know his views on Jesse Jackson.
But on the other hand, he's praising Arafat, and he thinks maybe Jews and other supporters of Israel should vote for him. They got to be crazy. In the same way, they would be crazy if they were black and voted for someone who was praising Botha and the racist supporters of the South African administration. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He's got two standards. They're not my standards. And so I have said that it's very bad to contemplate having Jackson as president.
I can remember arriving at Newark Airport and walking by a newsstand, as I usually do when I come into a town, just looking at the headline of the paper. And, you know, there's so many papers in New York, but I concentrated on Newsday. It's the Long Island paper. And the headline was, Jesse Jackson and the Jews. I thought it was a new rock group. And I thought to myself, I'm in for it here.
In 1984, Jackson had called New York City Jaime Town. Newspapers carried pictures of him with PLO leader Yasser Arafat and black Muslim leader Louis Farrakhan. In this campaign, people were still passionate on these subjects, even if they didn't always have their facts straight.
What do you think of Jackson?
Not very much. Why?
What?
Because he stands on all the wrong things. I was just telling these gentlemen here, the same thing happens. He says that he won't deal with South African governments or South American governments because they're terrorists. Yet he embraces and kisses Anwar Sadat of the PLO.
He loves the PLO.
He loves the PLO. And they're admitted, Anwar Sadat admitted on television that he's in fact a terrorist. A terrorist. So where does he stand, Mr. Jackson? What is going to happen, you know?
I like Reverend Jackson. My problem was Farrakhan. And I have not heard him cut himself loose from him yet, and that was my problem. Because I do like the man, I think he's fantastic, but his connection with Farrakhan frightens me.
A long walk. Some room.
New York was hell. It was a situation where obviously there were so many death threats on Reverend Jackson's life that the Secret Service was very uptight. By uptight, I mean that they were super precautious. It was difficult for reporters to get close to Reverend Jackson at those times. Everything was tense. Every single day of that campaign was filled with tension.
This week with David Brinkley.
Well, I don't want to talk about black-Jewish confrontation because I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is who's good for America, and I want to talk about Jesse Jackson's character flaws, if I may. Why do you think that Coretta Scott King and Hosea Williams and Andy Young, as of last week, have not endorsed Reverend Jackson? It is, I think, because when he was under stress and Dr. King was assassinated, he didn't tell the truth. He said he cradled Dr. King's head in his arms, was the last man to speak with him. His shirt was bloody, and he wore it for 2 days. It wasn't truthful. When under stress again, when he uttered the words Hymietown, and I'm not faulting him in this election as a result of that. I'm faulting him for lying and saying he did not. Do you want a president who under stress is not capable of telling the truth?
I never attacked him personally. I always said that Jesse Jackson was one of the smartest, if not the smartest candidate running, and the most charismatic. But I didn't agree with his philosophy.
Well, it was personal, and it was racial. It was mean, it was ugly, it was unprovoked, it was unnecessary. It was the worst of leadership.
Was I doing my job when others were not? Now, maybe I didn't do it as well as I could have, and I plead guilty to that. But if you're a lonely voice, you know, and there's no one else talking, you sound loud, you sound strident.
2 days before the New York primary, Mayor Koch marched in the Israeli Independence Day parade with his preferred candidate for president, Al Gore. Michael Dukakis was also there. Jesse Jackson was conspicuously absent.
Down with Jackson! Down with Jackson! Down with Jackson! Down with Jackson!
At that moment, in another part of town, Jackson was leading a parade of his own across the Williamsburg Bridge, which was closed for repairs. He said he wanted to draw attention to the city's crumbling infrastructure. But Jackson found it hard to get away from accusations that he was simply avoiding the Jewish community.
The constant public challenges by the Council of Jewish Leaders who kept challenging us to come meet with them, in one sense, not so much to dialogue in that atmosphere and get a better understanding, but it was a big political tug of war.
Is that why you didn't meet with them?
Correct. The mayor led the charge with a religious and an ethnic litmus test for support. And there was a lot of fury in the air, and I refused to bring our campaign down to that level, and so I suffered it to be.
In other primaries, Jackson had often ventured into unfriendly voter territory. In New York, he stuck closer to his constituency, and as usual, he looked to future voters.
If I was old enough, I'd vote for him so many times.
Do you think that he can become president?
Yes.
Do you think he'd be a good president?
Yes, I'm putting all my wishes to him.
When I win, the children win. When I win,
seniors win. When I win, justice wins. When I win, hope wins. You must keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Vote. 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 Keep hope alive. Vote.
Jackson lost the New York primary decisively. The next morning, as the campaign moved on to Pennsylvania, the atmosphere was thick with disappointment.
Have your attention, please. In approximately 3 minutes, we will arrive 30th Street Station, Philadelphia. We have to check to see that you have all of your personal belongings.
For those of us covering Jackson, the campaign seemed to be on its last legs.
Wasted days and wasted.
Even campaign insiders were discouraged.
It's obvious to me that we were not going to win this nomination. And we went into Pennsylvania, which was going to be the worst big state in the country for us, because it was winner take all. And except for, votes in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia area, there's a vast wasteland there for us. We were not filed in all the congressional districts. And I think the campaign at that point went from a campaign to a crusade, and basically fell back on a lot of what went on in 1984. Became a movement.
The campaign shifted dramatically for Jerry at that point. As long as we were on the interstate, on the thoroughfare, Jerry was managing a regular campaign. When we went to Pennsylvania, we had to go the alternate route, and he was not equipped emotionally for the alternate route as he had been for the regular route.
After New York, Al Gore withdrew from the race, but Jackson kept campaigning. He sat still only long enough to get prepared for the next appearance, this time a debate with Dukakis in Pittsburgh.
And bring it home to steel, in the sense that there's research for new uses of steel.
The Jackson staff continued publicly to campaign as usual.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
If Jackson had doubts, he kept them to himself.
Many around me felt a sense of letdown because of New York. I could not be down. I had to lift them up. I had to keep people moving because once we left New York and only Dukakis and I remained, I had to keep earning votes against the media saying that we were going to inevitably lose. If we did win, it would be a catastrophe, all that doomsday talk. And I knew I had to go from Pennsylvania to California, and we could not surrender.
It was a confusing time in the campaign. The press kept reporting there was no way Jackson could win, that Dukakis was the inevitable nominee. But Jackson kept trying to seize some advantage, while his campaign seemed to be disintegrating from within, as key staff members voiced their private doubts publicly.
I pissed him off on more than one occasion by something I said. Most of the time, it was the wrong thing to say. A couple of times I thought I was right in what I said, but his attitude was I shouldn't have been saying anything. What I should have been doing was making sure the money was there, doing the administrative part, and let the speaking be to him. Jackson's response, which was correct, was you can't get screwed by a reporter if you don't talk to him.
Appealing to you to do so. I know you will do it.
In the jargon of the 1988 campaign, Jackson was his own spin doctor. He made a habit of calling reporters whose stories were not to his liking.
Steve, hey buddy, how you doing? Good, pretty good, pretty good. Great. Let me bring you a little clarity on this article yesterday. First of all, our campaign is in high gear and driving toward June 7th with great hope of winning the nomination.
He doesn't screw around with small fry. I mean, if he's got a problem with CNN, he calls Ted Turner. Doesn't call the president of CNN, he calls Ted Turner. He's got a problem with the Washington Post, he calls Ben Bradley. He doesn't, and he's not shy about doing it.
So, my point, I don't want the people back home to have any mixed signals. Our campaign is in full gear, okay? Because I saw that particular article, which was a bit misleading. Life can be quite miserable with people who are on the plane learning their trade at your expense and opinionating every day and having such an impact upon your career, your destiny, and interpreting what you're doing.
If somebody writes something that he doesn't like, you know, he'll call you up the front of the plane, you know. What about this? What about this? You know, you'd see him. I mean, he was very good at that. He was very good at intimidating people. And a lot of people fell for it. And they would allow themselves to be intimidated.
We really did not have an antagonistic relationship with the people on the plane, people who traveled with us. Basically because I did not watch very much television during the campaign and read very few articles about myself.
No way. No way. I mean, he read every chance he got. We used to hand him stuff on the plane. He'd read everything about him.
At a Get Out the Vote rally in Canton, Ohio, Jackson let his irritation with the press show.
You talked to Jerry Austin and Willie Brown about not speaking up so much about the direction of the campaign and letting you handle that?
We constantly have talks within our inner circle about how to interpret who we are. And so that's just standard operating procedure. I choose, since you raised it, to bring clarity. Number one, make this very clear. We are running right through June 7th. Write that down. We're running hard in Ohio. Write that down. We are gaining popular votes and delegates in every campaign. Write that down. We intend to get our share of delegates based on popular votes. Write that down. We intend to come out of California and New Jersey in search of a management team and a running mate to confront Bush. And write that down. And that is authoritative, fresh, clear, without fear of contradiction. Thank you very much.
It was still a political campaign. I mean, the logistics were all in place. We still followed the same form, but the tension was gone. There was just a certain looseness as we traveled, a looseness in the sense of people were more quick to make jokes. Jackson was more quick to make jokes.
People began to study hand jive and hand gestures. That became a thing unto itself.
Nancy Reagan wave.
Oh, Nancy. Oh, Pope wave.
Pope wave and
Pope wave.
wait,
What was the other one? Oh, Rose Bowl wave.
Rose Bowl wave.
So I do Mrs. Reagan's, Mrs. Reagan's sign.
He's doing it all the time. He did it from the
He announced last night, he said, this is the Nancy Reagan wave.
And everybody said, what? The one that you really created, what does this mean, Reverend Jackson?
It's just a whole question of dexterity, flexibility.
Now you put two like this. Put these two together. Put these, and then separate. You got that? There you go. Put it out there, put it out there. Come on, let's put it.
What does it mean, Reverend Jackson? What does it mean?
Like this, huh?
What does it mean?
No,
What is it?
put these together.
I can't
Of the dozen primaries in the last 6 weeks of the campaign, Jackson won only the District of Columbia. Dukakis won Indiana, Ohio, Nebraska, West Virginia, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, North Dakota, and the crucial state of California. Yet Jackson never stopped running. He competed in every primary, and his name would be placed in nomination at the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta. But what did that mean? What had been accomplished by the Jackson campaign?
Win, Jesse, win! Win, Jesse, win! Win, Jesse, win! Win, Jesse, win! Win, Jesse, win!
If Jesse Jackson had not run, we really never would have known that there would have been so many people of all colors and all economic backgrounds that would have voted for him. Somebody has to start it, and someone has to build upon it. I don't think things this big and this important get lost. I think that you can only improve on them.
Jesse Jackson would go to the convention with 1,200 delegates, 3 times as many as in 1984. Yet, in none of his victories did Jackson ever come near a majority of the white vote.
This is America. And America is a 90% white country. And it not only is white in its skin color, it still thinks white. And it couldn't, I was amazed that America did as well to understand Jesse as they did. And I think it was a tremendous victory for lots of reasons. But it never approached election. I mean, it never approached electability, either as president or vice president.
We saw Jackson with black crowds and white crowds, with friendly audiences and hostile ones. In every situation, he was a magnet. He was the center of attention.
He's 47 years of age. He can run for president again in 20 years and still be younger than when Ronald Reagan first ran. Jesse Jackson has a constituency. He had it in 1984. Mondale went on to oblivion. Ferraro to oblivion. Jesse Jackson's still a major player.
Bozeman, Montana, the end of the campaign. In 2 days, Jackson would lose the Montana primary.
Jesse, you do me a favor. My mom.
You become such a big politician. You just.
My dad and my dad out.
Dad and then give me a little nose. Love you.
Clean up the sleaze in Washington. Oh, get rid of the
On a sunny day in Montana, we saw one last time Jackson's ability to connect with all kinds of people. For us, this was the end of the campaign. But for Jesse Jackson, the campaign may never be over.
You have to have tough skin and a tender heart. Don't shout too much when you win, and don't cry too much when you lose. You really have to be able to bounce back, take a position. Yesterday was tough. Made some mistakes, slipped up and fell. But this day is the first day of the rest of my life. Move on.
Thank you, Jesse. We love you, Jesse.
I love you too.
From the network of public television stations, a presentation of KCTS Seattle, WNET New York, WPBT Miami, WTVS Detroit, and WGBH Boston. This is Frontline. Frontline is produced for the Documentary Consortium by WGBH Boston, which is solely responsible for its content. Funding for Frontline is provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.